the number of challenges that we have looked at here in the programs that the OECD has taken up over the past 20 years have proven to have important interface with information and communication technologies. I think this is going to be an increasingly difficult issue in the future because these technologies are enabling populations to both meet new challenges but also create new challenges by their interaction. Let me just break that down into a few areas that we've looked at. First, there are a number of social challenges ahead of us that are well known. Aging societies where we have the problem of cohorts of age, the cohorts of the workers are shrinking at the entry level, and the cohorts of retired or dependent individuals is increasing. So this is causing a problem both for the new entrants in the market who will have to pay more for their future retirement, but also people living longer, which means that the entitlement system is being strained greatly. So there's going to be considerable intergenerational challenges in the future, problems. They're not only challenges, they're problems. So equity issues and intergenerational solidarity will be important. This is a wealth issue, it's a distribution of income issue, and it's a lifestyle. Second social issue that we see is related to population movements. The biggest problems that we now face in the industrial societies are the low-end jobs are being increasingly taken up by populations that have recently arrived in countries or have been marginal in countries until the last 2 decades. So this has meant that social tensions, if there are migratory flows associated with this, you have this in countries like the United States and several European countries where there are large minorities coming from different cultures who do not necessarily share similar attitudes about of the society in which they're living. I mean, they've come from others and they're learning to be citizens in a new world. So this is a big challenge, integration. And integration doesn't mean going from being a minority to just being part of the majority. It means both sides have to move towards each other to a new definition of what this is going to be as a citizen. We have a social problems as well in the educational system, if you can call it social. We see it more as a social issue. The question of transmission of knowledge and what are the institutional frameworks that are best suited for this. We have inherited in all our countries institutions which developed largely in the 19th and early 20th century. The tertiary institutions became large-scale research operations really only prior to World War II, and then after World War II, a very large takeoff in this direction. This has led to most of the big universities in the United States, Canada, Australia particularly, has led them to business models that are quite different than the traditional model of transmission of knowledge. So the institution has become a large-scale business, and the teaching and research functions have a profitability assessment associated with them. And of course they become increasingly expensive. So this has caused quite a lot of discussion about what will the future hold for our educational institutions if we continue to increase access to them, and at the same time continue to see a continued rise of costs. And here IT, and I'll come back to this, has played a very important role in experimenting with transmission of knowledge. distance learning, non-physical location for tertiary institutions, for-profit universities that share via ICT tools the benefits of very high-level teaching, but of course have no classroom and face-to-face experience. So, and this, the jury is still out on this, whether this is the kind of quality education that we need, or is it a supplementary tool to a traditional educational system which will need to adapt to it and reform. In some of the other, I mentioned social changes, I think we're also faced with some serious technical challenges. One of the most important developments of the past few years, and we've been discussing in other environments, not only the OECD, but World Economic Forum and elsewhere, is the rise of social networking. And social networking is it's the latest development in peer-to-peer contacts. We all know the advantages and disadvantages that the different platforms represent, Facebook, MySpace, and other things. But they're being used and evolving very creatively toward tools where interest groups and interest communities, including research communities, gather around a common problem, define it, distribute it, and use the listserv function, really, or the Blackboard function of something like Facebook, to enhance productivity. And this raises questions, of course, about the neutrality of the platform itself, and privacy issues, and proprietary issues about information goes across the system. So this is going to be a very big challenge, but it's certainly one of the most significant developments that we have seen, because it has empowered, yet again, individuals to act both on their own behalf, but in a political or social environment, like a family, but also in an educational environment where they can acquire new skills. I think this same system is being adapted for more, let's say, more surveillance type activities, and the networking of surveillance tools such as cameras and surveillance cameras, or detection devices, which can be biodetectors or sensors that are networked to oversight groups. They could be police, they could be those who are responsible for security. With the archiving capacity now available to individuals, let alone institutions, it is entirely possible to archive virtually every activity that has been observed and profile it. It still takes time to do this, but one of the great research challenges of the future, and as far as I can see, one of the great business opportunities of the future, will be in the area of data mining and data profiling. We have a lot of information, but it's very hard to get that information and put it in simple form to those who are willing to use it or pay for it. Two other areas I would mention that are important. One is for network ICT research addressing social problems are neuroscience and artificial intelligence. These are two of the fields that will develop in the future most rapidly, and with the capacity, computational capacity increasing, and robotics being one of the outlets for product use. Both IT and both the neuro and the artificial intelligence are going to produce products that the so-called rivals to human capacity, from the very obvious replacement of workers or dangerous exploration, human exploration such as coal mining and this type of thing, to far more sophisticated type of works, such as medicine or even diagnostics. So I think that IT, and that's where I'd finish, is the motor that's driving virtually every change in a direction. They're not all going in the same directions, and I think it's the challenge of a research agenda is to get a bigger picture of how IT is enabling but also challenging our societies. And I hope the project Paradiso is able to help us on